It may be because all the discussion in the news about Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito's wife hoisting at their home an upside-down American flag, which is recognized as a symbol of distress. Among the issues prompted by this incident is whether or not it was a political or personal statement, whether or not it was appropriate for her to do so, whether or not she should be allowed to express her opinion, whether or not that may influence her husband, whether or not the justice knew what his wife had done and whether or not he had sanctioned it, and whether or not, in light of all these factors, he needs to recuse himself from any cases brought before the court that have to do with President Trump. In other words, precisely the kind of story that can supply fodder to talk shows to debate for countless hours this past week. Now, I find it especially ironic that in the midst of all this discussion about the flag she flew yesterday was June 14th, which is Flag Day. Flag Day celebrates the anniversary of the adoption of the Stars and Stripes as the official flag of the United States by the Continental Congress on June 14, 1777. It was in 1916 that President Woodrow Wilson issued a proclamation that established June 14 as Flag Day. But it wasn't until 1949, when President Truman signed an act of Congress, that June 14th was officially recognized as National Flag Day. The purpose of designating a day is so Americans will reflect on the values and history associated with the flag. For a flag can represent the moral and ethical beliefs, the values, the identity, the history, the collective experiences of a group. Flag Day on the American calendar is kind of analogous to a minor holiday on the Jewish calendar, kind of akin to something like Tu B'Av or Rosh Chodesh. Many, but not all of us, may know when it is on the calendar, but it doesn't have any unique customs associated with it, and we don't have to take off of work for it. So since yesterday was June 14th, I guess we could say this is Flag Shabbos. And as luck would have it, guess what was the central feature of last week's Torah portion when June 14th occurred, and that is, you guessed it, flags. The opening parasha of the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, tells how each of the 12 tribes encamped around the Mishkan, which is the sanctuary, that was in the middle of the camp. And since there are 4 sides and there are 12 tribes, there were 3 tribes on each of the 4 sides. And each had their own degel, we read, their own flag, emblazoned with the symbol of that tribe. So I went and asked my trusty research assistant to research why it is that people attach such significance to flags, and why it is that flags can evoke such strong emotions. My assistant, whom I'll call ChatGPT, offered a number of reasons, which I'll share with you a few. Flags are significant because they offer a visual symbol of a country's history, culture, and values. They could be a unifying symbol that represent the identity of a nation and that fosters a sense of belonging and of national pride. Many are associated with significant historical events and moments and can thereby evoke moments and memories of struggles for independence, revolutions, or other pivotal events in a nation's history. They can represent the dreams and goals of a nation or group, inspiring individuals to strive towards certain ideals. All of which, of course, leads me to think about the flag of Israel, something which inspires and moves me every time I see it. Although there were a number of proposals put forth, the one that was accepted was first publicly displayed at the First Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland in 1897. The design, which was proposed by David Wolfson, was inspired by the traditional talit, which Wolfson saw as a powerful symbol of Jewish unity and identity. With the Magen David, the Star of David, right in the middle, the flag is a powerful symbol of Jewish identity and pride, symbolizing unity, faith, and the continuity of the Jewish people throughout the centuries. Throughout the centuries of diaspora and persecution, as well as the life of purity guided by the precepts of the Jewish religion and symbolizing the rebirth of the Jewish people in their historic homeland and eternal connection to the land of Israel. Interestingly, whereas demonstrators in America spur and scorn and even burn the American flag to show their dissatisfaction, anti-government demonstrators in Israel proudly wave the flag of Israel. Now, for many individuals, flags hold personal significance and can evoke strong emotions. They may remind people of their heritage, family history, or important personal experiences. Indeed, people's personal experiences and memories can be associated with the flag. They can come to symbolize personal identity, heritage, and cultural background, and displaying it can be a way to express and honor one's personal connections to a particular community or nation. And this is especially illustrated by a story told by Elisha Wiesel, the son of Eli Wiesel, who recounts that the only time his father ever got angry with him was when he was a freshman in college. And there was a case before the Supreme Court about the constitutionality of burning the United States flag. Elisha commented and contended that they had the right to do so. And his father, the Holocaust survivor and Nobel Prize laureate Elie Wiesel, scolded him and told him the only time, and it was the only time he said that his father ever showed anger at something he had ever said. And this was to lecture him that it was the very men who carried that flag who liberated him from the concentration camp of Buchenwald, and that it should be respected, not burnt. It is the country, he said, that gave him freedom as well as citizenship. Do you know, Elisha recounts, that his father said to him, do you know what this flag means to the men who fought under it? Do you know what it means to the men who fought to liberate me? Do you know what this flag means to me? So the question I want to ask you today, in light of all of this, knowing that displaying a flag is a way individuals can express their patriotism and loyalty and their values, and that it serves as a reminder of their commitment to certain principles, and knowing that flags can be shown to show support, whether it's a national cause or whatever it may be, the question I want to ask you today is, what flag do you fly? What are the values that you would want to engrave on the tablets of your heart? Well, we thought it would be nice if this year's confirmation class would dedicate a verse in our new Torah from which they read. And after a robust discussion and consideration of a number of possibilities, they settled on something about studying, something that had to do with education. And after considering a few possibilities, they agreed and a consensus formed that it was Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 7, that they wanted to be their verse. That's the verse which is part of the V'ahavta. That's the verse which says, V'shinamtam livanecha. You shall teach them to your children. It goes on to say, B'shiftecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, u'shachbecha u'vkumecha. You shall teach them to your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you journey forth along the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. That's the verse they chose. And since it is from the V'ahavta, it has the advantage of one that they will hear often, and that as it is recited twice a day in our morning and our evening prayers. So when going forth from here, you guys hear this verse, this prayer, the V'ahavta, I want you to think about what it is that we've done, what it is that you've done, how you have continued your studies, and the message of that verse is that it's not something we just talk about, but it's something that we bring into our very lives. The command is a call to study Torah unceasingly. As Robert Alter comments, it means wherever you are, whatever you do, Judaism should be a part of how you live your life and of the decisions you make. When each of you had your bar or bat mitzvah and stood here in front of the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark, you said these words, quote, I accept my obligation to keep the mitzvot and to take my responsibility as a member of the Jewish people seriously. And you have done that. We have studied much. You have taken it seriously. I'm reminded of the story of the man who came and boastfully told the Rebbe, his Rebbe, that he had now gone through the Torah, had studied it in its entirety. And he said, I've gone through it now 7 times. And his Rebbe said, yes, but the question is, how much of the Torah has gone through you? That's what it means. That's what it means to be a Jew. That's what it means to study, to bring it into our lives, to make it a part of who we are and what we are. And for that, we should be eternally proud, and that's the flag we should be willing to raise, the flag of pride, the flag of joy, the flag of Jewish unity, identity, and may we carry its heritage forward in our hearts at all times. And let us say, Amen.